vicious the whole time.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
she's not at work. She's blaming President Trump for everything. She was telling people February 24th, come to Chinatown, dummy. That was a dumb idea. She was impeaching Trump when Trump put the travel ban in effect. And now she's holding money as hostage again.
Yeah, I think she's been incredibly small at a time when the country needs big leadership. You remember, she held the articles of impeachment from December the 18th to January the 15th, trying to get Mitch McConnell to bend to her will to conduct a trial that she wanted in the Senate. She held Phase 3 hostage to get money for the Kennedy Center and other stuff. Now she's trying to hold the Small Business Administration loan program that's working hostage. She's been a hostage taker rather than a problem solver. And the one thing I want to say about President Trump, the guy that I've got to know in the last 3 years, listens and he leads. He listens to Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx, and he's come up with a phased opening of the country. He listens, he leads, and Nancy Pelosi undermines and destroys. Very sad.
Have you been following Bret Baier's reporting about how the patient zero is a guy that got infected with corona from a bat? He worked in that Wuhan laboratory. Now, I had seen all the conspiracy theories that it was manufactured there. Okay, his report doesn't say that. But apparently, China banned travel in and out of Wuhan province, according to Bret. But they let people from Wuhan travel internationally and infect the rest of the world, and this is the result. Now, that would mean to me that they knowingly, consciously, assuming all this is true, as reported, that they protected themselves and screwed the rest of us with the help of the WHO that lied to us.
Yeah, all the evidence indicates that they locked their country down to protect their people, and they did not tell the world about the true state of play inside of China. Iran is the largest state sponsor of terrorism. China is the largest state sponsor of pandemics. This is the third or fourth pandemic that came out of China. This may have happened, the infection may have happened in a lab, but the evidence seems to suggest it would spread at these wet markets. What did we do to Iran, who's a bad actor? We sanctioned Iran. What should we do to the largest state sponsor of pandemics on the globe? We should sanction China to get them to change their behavior. Senator Cruz has a bill to do that.
They need to pay for this, because that means that they knew Wuhan was so dangerous you couldn't travel in or out within China. But that would mean they have blood on their hands. Because if they didn't tell the rest of the world what they were doing with Wuhan, but they let Wuhan, people travel everywhere else, they didn't give a flying rip about what they were doing to the rest of the world. They knew it was bad, and they let it happen.
If it were not for the irresponsibility of the Chinese Communist Party, there would be no pandemic in the world. Americans would be alive today, and 22 million people would be at work. China's responsible. It's time to hold them responsible. They're the largest state sponsor of pandemics in the entire globe, and they need to pay a price.
Yeah, maybe we're not going to pay back the debt they're holding. Let's start there. They pay for this. They pay for all of this. All right, Senator, thank you.
Tonight, we're at a gut check moment in our battle with the coronavirus and its impact on lives. More than 34,000 lost so far, and livelihoods. 22 million American jobs erased. President Trump tonight announcing a roadmap to rebooting the economy, unveiling guidelines that would keep schools closed, but envision returns to offices, the reopening of restaurants, theaters, churches, and gyms, all under strict conditions. But are we really there yet? Our team tackling it all tonight. First, Peter Alexander with those breaking developments from the White House. Peter, what do we know?
Good evening. The president tonight laying out his recommendations for reopening the economy. The guidelines do not provide specific dates or locations, and they acknowledge that governors have the final say on what happens in their states.
President Trump tonight outlining new federal guidelines for opening up America again.
The president just days after insisting he has total authority to order states what to do. This afternoon telling all 50 governors, you're going to call your own shots. The White House announcing 3 phases to guide governors' decisions. Phase 1 urging all individuals when in public to maximize physical distance from others, and saying schools that are currently closed should remain closed. Phase 2 when non-essential travel can resume and bars and schools can reopen. And Phase 3 when Americans can largely return to their lives, but should consider minimizing time spent in crowded environments. Moving between phases for each state would require evidence the number of coronavirus cases has gone down for 14 days. And White House aides insist some states may be able to reopen before May 1st. The guidance addresses the need for testing and contact tracing, but it remains unclear how many tests will be needed and will be available for governors to feel comfortable reopening their states. The president today, pressed by Democratic lawmakers on the need for dramatically more testing, pushed back. According to one Republican senator, President Trump indicated that the economy would have to be reopened before widespread testing can be available. Peter Alexander, NBC News, the White House.
This is Gabe Gutierrez. From coast to coast, from New York and Boston to Orlando, Chicago, and Los Angeles, many cities are essentially ghost towns. Today, the calls to reopen America reach their loudest yet.
I don't think that the government really has any business telling us what we can and cannot do.
This protest in Virginia followed others this week in Michigan and North Carolina.
We're peacefully assembling. We have that right.
Today, the governors of 7 Midwestern states banded together to coordinate how and when they'd reopen. Ohio says its stay-at-home order will expire on May 1st with safeguards.
The world that we're going to see is a different world. You're going to see people with masks. You're going to see people where there's a lot of sanitizers. The workplace is going to change.
Los Angeles and Washington, D.C. have already extended their stay-at-home orders until May 15th. At the nation's COVID-19 epicenter, New York's governor today did the same.
What happens after then, I don't know. We will see depending on what the data shows.
Today, that data showed the daily death toll in New York fell for the second straight day. ICU admissions are dropping dramatically here, but the economic toll is mounting. Needy families lined up outside this Dallas food bank today. In Boston, Dr. Lakshman Swamy is worried about America reopening. His ICU is still packed.
It is terrifying to me to think about people congregating, to think about people being in the streets, to think about my kids in school again. Nothing scares me more.
About 2,000 Americans are dying from coronavirus each day. Among them, Kenneth Boswell of Rockford, Illinois. His wife says she lost the love of her life and had to say goodbye over FaceTime.
To be able to actually see him through a phone when he's going for his, the last moments, is so indescribable.
Tonight, New York City's mayor is urging residents to lower expectations for the summer, saying it's too soon to tell when sporting events, beaches, and public gatherings might resume. Lester?
All right, Gabe, thank you. And we can't emphasize enough the magnitude of the crisis within this crisis. We're talking about the devastating losses growing at the country's nursing homes, leaving thousands of families heartbroken and furious. Here's Kate Snow.
In New Jersey, where 95% of the state's long-term care facilities have coronavirus, a gruesome discovery. Authorities say they found 17 bodies crammed inside a small morgue at the state's largest nursing home.
I am also outraged that bodies of the dead were allowed to pile up in a makeshift morgue at the facility. New Jerseyans living in our long-term care facilities deserve to be cared for with respect, compassion, and dignity. We can and must do better.
A congressman got a frantic call from Andover Subacute and Rehabilitation on Saturday.
She asked for help with extra body bags because they were out. It was such, a crisis mode.
An owner told NBC News the heroic healthcare staff has been working relentlessly to contain the virus. Lee Rapash's 84-year-old mother died there 3 weeks ago.
They told us there were no cases originally, and then to find out later that this COVID-19 was basically running rampant in the nursing home.
That facility has been reported to police before. One owner was an executive of a troubled family-run nationwide chain NBC News investigated last summer.
And they tried to transfer me to the nurses station, but the nurses station is just so inundated.
Families across the country are desperate for information about their loved ones in facilities. NBC News now counts more than 5,600 deaths at more than 3,400 facilities nationwide. In Florida, nursing homes are petitioning the governor to protect them against lawsuits from families. After 7 deaths at Atria Willowwood, Florida's governor worried that employees were showing up for work with COVID symptoms.
You had people that were sick that should not have been in. That's for sure.
The facility responding that the governor's comments were inaccurate and unproductive and inconsistent with substantial and urgent steps being taken.
Staffing is the #1 issue right now. Many of them are making close to minimum wage. I think there's a real feeling that, hey, this is not what I signed up to do.
The agency that runs Medicare saying it's working with the CDC to get better data and will have more information soon. Not soon enough for Sheila Curran, whose husband died.
I want more information. I want more transparency. Yeah. I want people to own up to their part in this. And I want him back.
Kate Snow, NBC News.
Now to the staggering economic toll. New numbers today show tens of millions of Americans out of work in just 1 month, as hundreds of thousands of small business owners desperately wait for new loan funding that could help keep them afloat. Here's Jolene Kent.
Tonight, the long lines at food banks reflecting the grim reality for millions of Americans left jobless and hungry, many for the first time. More than 5 million workers filed for unemployment benefits last week, pushing the total to a catastrophic 22 million out of work in just 1 month. That's more than the populations of 48 states, including Florida and New York. The sudden unemployment surge wiping out virtually all jobs added since the financial crisis 11 years ago.
I was laid off.
Serena Yanez is a single mother in Oregon. She applied for unemployment after being laid off from her job at a travel company.
It's just the waiting game that's really unsettling for a lot of us, because I honestly don't know when that check will be coming.
Among the states hardest hit, California, Georgia, Texas, and Michigan, where 25% of the workforce is without a job, the highest percentage in the country.
What is the office doing to make sure that unemployed people can get their benefits in a timely fashion?
I don't think any state system was set up to handle a pandemic. We're throwing everything we can at processing these claims. We're not going to rest until we do.
In New Orleans, Ruth and Stephen Yamada say even with unemployment benefits, it's hard to make ends meet.
Our unemployment checks don't even begin to cover our monthly expenses.
And the layoffs are not letting up. Best Buy furloughing 51,000 workers this week, and Disney another 43,000 this coming weekend. As unemployed workers muster all their hope to get through this, a simple message.
I just hope that people take this seriously so that we can all get back to work.
Jolene Kent, NBC News, Los Angeles.
This is Stephanie Rule. Small business owners still trying to apply for forgivable loans are being turned away because the government's Paycheck Protection Program is out of money. After a chaotic start, more than 14 years' worth of loans were processed in less than 14 days, but it wasn't enough. Before the economy was in free fall, these small business owners were already worried.
It's hard stuff.
It's painful for me to think about these families that I'm responsible for.
We're down about 80%.
My fear is that these doors won't open and the people won't come through.
That's exactly what happened when stay-at-home orders went into effect. Now, with the $350 billion exhausted, the push to add another $250 billion is stalled in Congress. Democrats insisting on new wording after criticism those who needed the loans most were not prioritized. Still, to meet the full demand, experts say the price tag will be significantly higher. Danny Koch owns the Town Shop in New York. He has 28 employees.
It's devastating. I was acting on good faith and paying my employees.
He says he had no idea the application window would close so quickly.
The one little piece of the puzzle that was possibly going to keep everyone going and keep everyone afloat is now gone.
Danny Moe owns a barber shop in Harlem. His application has not been approved.
If I don't get the loan, I can probably last till May. I really don't even want to think about that.
Alex Perry, who owns a commercial sign company in Chicago, just got word he was one of the nearly 1.7 million loans approved.
It was day to day, almost hour to hour that I was worrying about the business. And now, just almost like, snap of a finger, I feel much more confident.
Deborah Miller's loan was also just approved, but she's using donations and personal savings to pay 10 of the employees at her catering company to make free meals for hospital workers and first responders.
It's a win-win. We're giving work to our employees as well as feeding those frontline people.
If you have applied for a Paycheck Protection loan and haven't been approved, contact your lender and make sure all your paperwork is in order. That way, if the funds get replenished, and there's a good chance they will be, you'll be ready.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.